Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. India is a country of extremes, and there is a fashion nowadays for the people in authority to take populist decisions which may be good, may not be good. One such petition was filed in the Supreme Court of India, and that sought directions to restore the names of the places changed by the foreign barbaric invaders. This is apart from the names that have changed already. Practically all big cities have changed the names, and that name change has been accepted, but then that's not the present government alone that has done it. Let's not forget the name of Bombay, Calcutta, Madras, Trivandrum, Panjim, Pune. They were all changed with the Congress government earlier. And now, of course, the names have changed of Mughal Sarai, of Allahabad, of Banaras, and so on. And this time, one person filed a PIL, public interest, as if people are interested. Ashwini Upadhyay filed it. And he says that many people were named after looters who came from abroad. And for the first time possibly, Supreme Court acted in a very sensible manner and dismissed the petition on February 27. With the remarks, a country cannot remain a prisoner of the past. Now, what does this imply? As I said, the issue of renaming the places has been prominent in public discussion for quite some time. But then you cannot revisit history selectively, and those people who deem themselves to be custodians of Hinduism should know that Hinduism is one religion which provides no space for bigotry. Now, replying to this, the petitioner said that the country cannot remain a prisoner of the past. He said that the benevolent nature of Hinduism had resulted in being wiped out from places like Afghanistan and Pakistan, and Hindu being reduced to a majority in 7 states, even in India. Later he added that the names of cities as mentioned in the ancient scriptures and epics like Upanishad, Vedas and Gita don't exist anymore. And he said, we too have a right to religion. Religion does not mean name of the place. You designate a place to identify it. If for 200 years you have designated Delhi as Delhi, and today you want to call it Hastinapur, it would be ridiculous. History repeats itself, first as a tragedy, second as a farce. And that's why I always say geography may remain the same. History need not. It cannot be the same. History deals with the living organisms, human beings. It cannot remain static. Geography deals with land, and land moves only when the earthquakes are there, or the tectonic plates crash. I always consider history to be a series of victories won by the scientific man over the romantic man. Now, what was the purpose of this statement of the Supreme Court? That no country can remain prisoner of the past. This petition was absolutely a mischievous one. The only purpose was to have discord, which is not acceptable. India is wedded to the rule of law. Article 14 clearly states secularism, constitutionalism, and Article 14 stands out as a guarantee both of equality and fairness in state actions. Now, calling Hyderabad by some other name would be ridiculous, because Hyderabad, before becoming Hyderabad, was a village. These places grew up. You call Trivandrum Thiruvananthapuram. Okay, I have no grounds with that. You converted Panjam into Panaji. All this sounds a farce. And it's not fair to the others. Now, the attack of Upadhyaya was primarily on the Muslim names, because there are no cities in India. Primarily, there are some. For example, Mussoorie is over from the Britishers. In Pakistan, Campbellpur. So there are a couple of them in India as well, but primarily they are Muslim ones. So you should remember that history of any nation should not be permitted to haunt the present generation. What the Muslim rulers did at that time was bad, horrible. But should that continue to haunt us? Did Hindu kings not become tyrannical? Were they not cruel? Did they not kill innocent people? They did. That was a part of that uncivilized state. And otherwise, even now, injustices are being done. You cannot permit the present generation and the coming generations to be haunted by the ghosts of the old. Only fraternity and a sense of brotherhood would lead to unity. And I fully agree with what the Supreme Court said. The golden principle of fraternity is enshrined in the preamble, and that's of greatest importance. The British has adopted a policy of divide and rule. And that, brought basically a divide in our society by changing the names indiscriminately. Okay, you change some names. For example, you change Banaras to Varanasi, that doesn't hurt people. But changing Mughal Sarai to Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Nagar is ridiculous. Ultimately, the people say DDU Nagar. So the whole thing is lost. Invasions were a historical fact. They cannot be wished away. Yes, we have been ruled by the foreign invaders. Yes, India has been invaded several times. And history has taken its part. But can you wish away the invasions from the history? No, you can't. You can rewrite the history, ignore the invaders, but they still were part of the real history. So changing names, what are you going to achieve? Is there any paucity or dearth of problems in the country? No. I personally feel Hinduism is one of the greatest religions in the world, especially in terms of metaphysics. The heights which Hinduism reached in Upanishads, Vedas, Bhagavad Gita is unique in any system. And all Indians should be proud of that. By bringing this public interest litigation, this guy, Upadhyaya, has tried to belittle the stature of Hinduism. And that's not acceptable. I remember it was 1958. I was a high-class student. And Bertrand Russell had come to India. I had the pleasure of meeting him as a high-class student. And in a show of pride, I talked about Aristotle and Socrates. And then he asked me, young man, I'm really happy that you are so well versed in Roman and Greek culture, their mythology, but have you read Vedas? I had not at that time. I said, no, sir. My father and Bertrand Russell looked at each other. Both had a twinkle in their eyes. And then he said, okay, start reading them. And I read. Would you believe? That opened new vistas for me. New vistas of thought, of knowledge, of awareness, and of pride in my country. Now coming back to the quote. Simple reading, a country cannot remain stuck in the past. It has to move on. Move on for its own betterment. When there's an obsession with history, then that obsession has a potential to dominate the public thought and opinion. And the result? Diminished discussion on the betterment of the modern day citizens. I don't say neglect the history, no way. People who forget history are doomed. Understanding of the history enables us to understand our past, and it enables us to shape our future so that we don't repeat the old mistakes. We have a sense of pride in who we are as a country. However, continuously picking at old wounds and manufacturing narratives out of them, when the focus should be on improving the present and the future, that would lead to widespread social enmity, harm, and unpleasantness. And this is especially true when the past is used to drive a wedge between communities. The divide and rule policy has done its worst. Don't add to it. The past is a different kind of artifact. And in today's context, that is overpowering our identity. It's being invoked to provide material for demography and demonization. What you have got to do is to put all the villains, whether they're Muslims or Hindus or Sikhs, immaterial, put them in the place and remove them from the public enemy The focus on renaming places has been described by various politicians as a way of correcting history. But that's not the way. Correcting history would be, if you are proud of that, bring back those values. Brotherhood, fraternity, broad-mindedness. It was the same Hindus who allowed the masjid to be built during that time, life of Hazrat Muhammad in Kochi. It's the same Hindus who welcomed Parsis, same Hindus who welcomed Christians. So why is that spirit of brotherliness, fraternity is not being authorized now? Try to understand the history in the proper context instead of forcing contemporary debate on it. An objective analysis with room for healthy debate is a needed beyond. And this is not the first time this has been said. Jawaharlal Nehru in Discovery of India says, we have become prisoners of the past, and some of that immobility is still sticking with us. Sticking to the history leads you to become rigid, and there's a little room for flexibility. I was reading British novelist H.P. Hartley's landmark work, The Go-Between. And the first line I still remember, the past is a foreign country. They do things differently there. And this highlights the importance of the contextualizing historical events, not assuming that the contemporary moral values are relevant. And the father of the Indian Constitution, B.R. Ambedkar, said, geography seems to be a better witness than history. And don't forget, India was never a country before. There were 600 countries in India. The Mahabharata was between the different states were coming to the aid of one or the other party. What we need is that the historical narratives should be allowed to evolve, which they are evolving constantly, and their relevance would depend more on the contemporary debate than on anything else. And that's the way the country can survive better. Thank you. Hi.